This PSA was brought to you by the Peter G Show.
You may have second thoughts after the show.
Don't drink the faucet. We're really talented. We should get Oscars.
Just pick out a car, for Christ's sake.
No, hi, my name is Peter. Yeah, I want. Here's good.
Yeah.
Madam Perry.
I need to get back in the genie bottle.
Louis from Pennsylvania, you're on. He likes it. It's showtime.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorced dad, single dad, divorced dad, single dad, Peter G Show.
Oh yeah, Wednesday, coming at ya. I don't want nothing coming at me. How the hell is everybody? Wednesday, Life of Peter G, the Peter G Show, every Wednesday, like clockwork. 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. on the East Coast, God willing. And I definitely mean that. How the hell is everybody? I hope everybody's doing well as we start off another show. The month is flying by. So weather's still great. Starting to get into that fall weather. Still pretty hot, at least for me. Before long, it'll start cooling down, and then you'll be shoveling snow somewhere in the United States, but not me. No siree, boy. Turned in that shovel a long time ago. I was a paper boy when I was 11, growing up in Connecticut. And back then, the papers used to be really thick. I mean, a Sunday paper was huge. I could only and when it snowed, on Sundays, I'd have to push like a shopping carriage to deliver the papers because they were so big. I was only 11 years old. I liked money. I used to be very, I was a go-getter. Still am. But I digress. So I'd push a shopping carriage. And when it was snowing, you couldn't do that. So I'd have to load up. Back in the day, we had these paper boy bags. They were like these straps with a big sack. I could only put like 5 or 6 of the Sunday newspapers. I had to go back and forth to go pick up more papers. And it took, forever. I don't even know why the hell I'm telling you this story, but I'm not shoveling snow anymore, so what the hell? All right, I love you. Tonight, we got a great show. I'm switching. Look, there's a lot of news in the news right now, okay? I got people, I just checked messages, and people have been calling since last week, leaving their opinions on what to do with Bill Gates. Let me tell you, nobody says anything nice. It's kind of sad. I mean, here we are, talking about the whole Charlie Kirk thing and all that and how you just can't do certain things, but yet they want to do those certain things to old Billy Boy Gates because he's poisoning but I have to take a break and go back to like the Peter G Show, Life of Peter G. And that's what we're doing tonight, all right? I love talking the current stuff because I feel it's very important, but there's a lot of other things in life that are really important too. And tonight, I have Miss Teresa Blackburn on the show. She's just released her first book right here, Stripped Down. She, go figure, was a stripper for many years, and she wrote a book to tell about it. She not only wrote a book to tell about what goes on in the strip clubs, she wrote a book telling about her growing up from a child. She wrote a book telling about her lesbian relationships. Yes, on top of that, she's a stripper and she's a lesbian, so the plot gets juicier, all right? But the thing is, toxic relationships. And I don't know, just growing up, you meet all kinds of people. And I've met a lot of strippers that don't get out alive, so to speak. And she, by the grace of God also, and, spiritual awakening, got herself out of all that, turned her life around, and now she helps other people. She's a certified professional counselor. And she's a healer and is into all the metaphysical stuff too as well. And she eats clean and works out and all that kind of stuff. And she's going to be on this show in just a few minutes coming up, talking about her book. But again, sometimes you got to go through what you got to go through to get to where you're going, sadly. She's a survivor, and she's going to talk about it tonight. So stick around. This is stuff, that happens every single day all around you, but you may not always be paying attention about it. And I've always wanted this opportunity to talk to somebody like Teresa, and this is my first shot at it, believe it or not. So she's got a book. And actually, I read the book real quick, 120 something pages. And I'm not a quick reader, but I couldn't put it down because you want to know what the hell's going on. So it was pretty cool. She's up in a few minutes. Also, I want to remind you, where the hell are we? Next week, last show of the month, Peter G Show recap of the month. We talked about a bunch of stuff that got a lot of people's, butts in a roar. And, a lot of, I'm telling you, I'm getting phone calls that big. Oh, they missed the show. How can we get in touch with you so we can call in and talk about this? I have a few suggestions. Well, maybe next week will be your chance to call in on the stuff you missed. I'm telling you, every time I turn the phones on, nobody calls. I'm like, talking to myself. And then I get all the after effects because, not everybody can make the show on time. And then I get people that say, I missed your show. Is there any chance that we'll be seeing it again? It's like, yeah, it's on demand. You can find it on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey. You can catch it on 26 different audio platforms. Put an earbud in your ear while you're driving in your car going to work. There's all the shows. There's over 400 shows. Believe it or not. Topic for everybody. Like tonight. This is going to be a first. So, you'll want to catch it. It's interesting stuff. Good to know. But we'll be recapping next week. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. Plus, by next week, God knows how much more news is going to be in the news. And I can't say it enough. I am not a news show. I am an entertainment show with information with a purpose. So bear with me if I don't start my show and immediately get into the topic you're looking for, because we have segments and I talk about all different things. I get to it when I get to it. Got to get used to me. I don't blame the people. Some people have expectations. You have a premeditated notion on what you're going to be looking at. And this isn't a whole lot to look at. So bear with me. But we get there. We got a lot of laughs. We have some cries. Get some things that may make you think. Thinking is good. It really is. I'm finding out, man. I'll talk about that next week. God, see what I mean? Too much stuff to talk about. All right. And don't forget, I'm having real big problems with YouTube. They keep on shadow banning me and throttling me back. They pull off a show that I did on natural medicine, of all things. They took it down. Censorship. Please, please, please subscribe. It's free. If you're watching from YouTube, go to the YouTube channel and just hit the subscribe button. It's free. And let's see what we got here. And I like when people chime in. Pensacola in the house. See, this is a good idea. Do like Lonnie. Be in the house. Watch the Peter G Show. There we go. And Milton is emotionally mature. That's good, bro. Power to the mature. All right? We all get there. Some don't. I'm a kid at heart, but I play around. But when I get serious, I get serious. All right? Please, please, please subscribe. And if you're on Facebook, follow. But it's good to have them both handy in case one day YouTube, I try to stay relevant on YouTube. I really do, because there's a lot of people that are on YouTube that I want to reach that are totally clueless. And they're just nice people that don't have a clue. And they're willing to listen. Now, those that, call me names and things like that, I can take it. Some men you just can't reach. It's all good. Can't please everybody. But anyway, subscribe, follow. Don't forget, again, the podcast on audio. If you're a commuter, you sit in your car, you're exercising, exercise. You're walking, whatever. Put an earbud in your ear, and you can listen to the Peter G Show on audio. It's the next best thing to being here. I love when you watch. I really do. I like watching. I'm a visionary kind of guy. I guess a lot of guys are. But ain't that right, Teresa? So I just lost my train of thought. Now I got all goofy. But we give you all these different ways to do it. All right. So do it. All right. And this is what we're going to do next, because I want to get Teresa on. I got a lot of questions for her. But first, before I get to Teresa, we got to hear from my good friends over at Clean Star Products for their money-saving fuel additive DX1 driver. Because let's face it, folks, it makes sense to save money. We'll be right back.
Hello, it's Tyrone Thompson here with Clean Star Products, and we're here with William.
High-end car service.
And we've just serviced his Cadillac Escalade 2024, and we're going to be giving it a go to see what kind of results he'll be getting in his fuel mileage and any performance differences, and be checking with him later.
All right.
Thank you, William, for participating in our environmental program. We're here with High-End Car Services, my friend William, who's been using DX1 for a small time now. What kind of results have you been getting?
Up to 45.1 miles per gallon best results, and the engine has been quieter, and I can definitely feel the power in the engine. I have a diesel.
Thank you so much. We're going to keep going with the program and check in with you later. We appreciate you. The Long Life Engine program with DX1 Driver is the only safe environmental product for your high mileage engine. DX1 is a non-toxic, clean-burning oil that goes into your fuel and your engine oil, providing lubricity for gasoline and diesel engines. You save on average 10% gasoline and 15% diesel fuel consumption. Call now for a price quote and place your order today. It's the Long Life Engine program from Clean Star Products and Tyrone Thompson.
That's right, folks. Clean Star Products. I have 2 words to tell you about DX1 Driver. It works. Peace. It does. I wouldn't talk about it. I tried it back in the day when we first managed to get together on this product. Used it for a small period of time and found out he's actually telling the truth. It does work. I drive a V8, and it's a higher mileage vehicle, and I noticed the difference with it in about 4 tankfuls of fuel, and it's really simple to do. I mean, this little bitty bottle services a regular 4-door sedan, okay? You pour one of these little babies into a clean oil change. Lasts the whole oil change. So what's that on average on your regular car? 5,000 miles? If you have a Mercedes, it's 10,000 miles. And then every time you fill up your tank, you put one of these little bitty bottles into the fuel and then fill up your tank with gas and drive. Couldn't be much simpler. Now, again, if you have a bigger vehicle, the bottle's a little bit bigger. Again, mine is a little bit bigger, and you put it in and do the exact same thing and go. And I noticed the difference. And here's the kicker. I know you're going to have questions. A lot of people go, oh, yeah, sure, Peter, whatever. You know, we see tons of this stuff. I want you, not to believe me, but go to cleanstarproducts.com. I'm putting it up on the screen, www.cleanstarproducts.com. There's a phone number. I'm even showing you the phone number, 310-200-8931. Speak to them personally. You'll have questions. Now, on the website, they got all kinds of, questions and answers and all that kind of stuff. But if you speak to them personally, this is the kicker. They will talk to you one-on-one, answer all your questions because they have a product that works and they stand behind their product and they love what they do and they do it right. Should you decide to order, and you call in, you tell them you saw it on the Peter G Show, they will send you 5 bottles for the price of 4. That's right. Wow, Peter, really? Yeah. 5 bottles for the price of 4. And this is a good starter kit, and I'm going to tell you why. You put 1 in the oil change, and that leaves you with 4 more for 4 full tanks of fuel. You should notice the difference. I'm telling you, when I started using it, I knew because my vehicle is heavy. And you got to put your foot in it to get it going. And even my daughter noticed it because she's a horse girl, and she wanted to go pick up some hay because she ran out of food. And she says, I could tell that the thing's moving quicker and easier. Thus far, it's not working as hard. More lubricity, takes care of your engine, smooth. Doesn't have to work as hard. Doesn't eat as much gas, better gas mileage. All of the above. Let's face it, good food, good body. It's the same exact analogy except for your car. Cars are expensive to fix. Cars cost a lot of money to buy. Why be spending your money on expensive cars and repairs? Help it last longer and do better. And again, keep the money in your pocket. Call their number, talk to them. You might even speak to Ty himself. And should you decide to order, please, this is the kicker. You need to say, I saw it on the Peter G Show, and they will send you 5 bottles for the price of 4. It's a deal. You can't, a deal's a deal. All right. Let's get ready for Teresa, okay? First things first, getting ready for Teresa. Thank you all for watching. Again, share. I can't say it enough on how much I love you guys. You could be doing other things in your life, yet you take the time to watch the show, and I truly appreciate it, and we're all in this together, so I love you. Cheers. Oh. Smooth. Woo. Okay. Sitting in the wings. it's funny how we got together. It was, I think it was right place at the right time. It was a fluke, but we did. I was introduced through a mutual friend, sort of, kind of. And then she just happened to have this book right here, stripped down. And I said, bingo. And she was open and got with me real quick. And we talked about it. And she says, sure, I'll come on your show. And so this is what we're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, from somewhere in the East Coast, with her new book, Tell All, Wide Open, Miss Teresa Blackburn. Hey.
Hello.
Can you hear me good?
Yeah.
Thanks for not leaving the show. I told you, I said sometimes, we start the show and then I come up and the guest is taken off. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Good. I want to, again, I'm sure you heard me, but I do want to thank you for making this happen, because I have yet to have any type of story like this on my show. So you're my first.
Great.
Great. I mean, we've all had our firsts, but I read this book. And I'm going to ask you questions about it as if I, just so you can take us through little pieces. I mean, from beginning to end. And even if you tell so much of this stuff, the book is the book. I mean, I'm telling you, I kept stopping and kept picking it up. And I'm not a really like the kind of guy who gets hooked into books, but this kind of stuff is interesting.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and it's short, so it's not too long.
Right. It's not a novel. Although I'm sure you have enough experiences to write a novel, but I started reading it and I said, okay, this is going to be good tonight. And I don't know how many of these type of things you do, because this book just came out. When did it come out?
Like July 7th.
There you go. So you're pretty fresh.
Yeah.
All right. So what I want you to do real quick is, before I start the show with you, as I do every guest, why don't you take a minute and just briefly tell everybody who you are, what you do, and how you ended up, here one way, shape, or form, and we'll go from there. All right.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah. So as you said, currently I'm a licensed professional counselor and I work online. So I see people mostly in Pennsylvania, because that's where I'm licensed. And so the insurance companies pay for that. But I do see people from all over, even in other countries, because I do a little bit of a different type of counseling. So I do regular therapy, but I also incorporate some holistic modalities that I have found to work really well. So I do that along with regular talk therapy. I also will help people if they need help with nutrition or supplementation to help their bodies recover from trauma, which can cause a lot of physiological issues as well. So that's what I do from day to day. That's my life. I decided to write this book starting in 2020. I just started to jot stuff down. And, someone said, hey, you know what? You should write a book. Some of your experiences are really wild. So I just started writing, basically just putting it on paper. I never really thought about the book aspect. And then I joined like a local writers club, and they helped me to give it more life, and then ended up urging me to publish. So I decided to go that route. So I ended up here with you, like you said, on a TikTok, on somebody else's TikTok page, and then we linked up. But that's the current stuff. So is there anything else that you wanted me to elaborate on as far as past?
No, we're going to elaborate on a lot of stuff, but we're going to start from the beginning. I just want everybody to know, who you are now. I mean, what you do and for what reasons. And again, trauma-based, issues and things like that. And as I mentioned earlier, I mean, I don't think you'd be doing what you're doing had you not gone through what you went through, and yeah. I mean, I see a lot of counselors and stuff. You have drug addiction counselors that were former addicts and things like that. And nobody knows more about it than the ones who actually went through it, and, you can imagine, I can imagine, but you got some stories. I mean, you were in an industry that I'm pretty well experienced in, but, as growing up.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in the music entertainment industry my whole life, and just kind of went hand in hand. But again, I was just a spectator,
Mm-hmm.
So and you meet people and know people. But let's start from the beginning a little bit. You kind of had, like, not weird, but not an average childhood, says you in your book. I mean, your relationship with your folks and all that kind of stuff. Would you say that kind of like started you off on this whole, I mean, who knows, but
not really. I was, I did, I go into it a little bit in the book, but I was raised, just single household, only child. My parents, they weren't financially well off, but they did okay. Small town, went to Catholic school my whole life, but everybody was pretty liberal. They were very accepting, but it wasn't really a bad childhood at all. I just had some issues physically that created an anxiety disorder based on some physiological problems. And that was one of my biggest struggles of childhood. And then, as far as the toxic relationship stuff that I talk about and how they got formulated and how that it got downloaded into my subconscious is what you see. So, between 0 and 7, whatever you see, it just kind of soaks in and downloads like programs on a computer. So seeing infidelity and third parties in the relationship that my parents had kind of downloaded. And so it set the stage to be like, oh, that's what relationship looks like.
The norm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, it didn't really lead to stripping, I think that was other things, that led to it as far as.
I get it. But I mean, we're just setting the tempo as to, everybody grows up differently. I mean, some people don't have a parent or two, or, and some people do, and it's not the greatest. And I mean, I was kind of middle of the road. I was an only child as well, but I mean, my parents did okay. And I don't know, depends who you ask if I turned out okay or not. But, we definitely all go through our ups and downs and mistakes. And, you learn if either you touch your hand to the fire, and some people continually touch their hand to the fire, but there's no secret here. I mean, you're openly, what do you want to say, gay or lesbian, or what do you want to say?
Yeah. I mean, I just usually say gay because sexuality is very interesting, especially nowadays. There's so many letters added on to that acronym. But I would say that some people would say I'm the L and some people would say I'm the B, because I have had, relations with both genders, but I've only had relationships with females. You know what I mean? So whatever that label is, I don't know.
All right. But I mean, I read, you said you were about 15. I mean, when did you really, because, again, I truly believe is you know who you are, like there's not, I was kidding with my daughter about this because we were talking about. I was telling my daughter how I used to go to a gay bar, and one of the drag queens would cut my hair when I was younger in the dressing room on my way to a gig because I was in a house band, and she said, "You never told me that." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "But," and I used to have my hair was as long as yours, and want to see my license, and she was like, her eyes were getting big, and I'm going, "Yeah." I said, "But." And they say, "God, he's got such beautiful hair." And I go, I was never really, that kind of introduced me and calmed me down about gay people. I didn't care because I had a lot of fun with some of them, but I'm not gay. I said, there's not like a hinkling in me that says I want to be with a guy. So you'd have to know, that you're into girls, because you wouldn't be into girls if you weren't into girls. Although there are those curious ones that, you mention a lot too, or have these things, but you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, as a kid, and this opens up like a whole can of worms for the stuff that's happening now with these, children being trans so early, which I think is actually terrible. But I did know early that there was something different, obviously, because when I was like 3, my mom said, "Oh, you stopped answering to your name. You would only answer to a boy's name." I'm like, "Oh, that's weird." And then as I was growing up, I wanted to play sports. I was your typical tomboy, by definition in the 80s, in the 90s. Right. So I knew that was different, but I didn't realize the sexuality piece or admit it until I was about 15, because I had never known anybody else that was like me. So it was when I met my first girlfriend when I was 15, then we both were like, yeah, this is what is happening. But we just kind of played it off. We were like, oh, it's just a thing. It's just an experiment. We're not really like that. So it was still kind of like, we were unsure about what that was. But yeah, I mean, I kind of knew, everybody else knew it was coming. Like my mom and dad were like, yeah, she's either going to be a tomboy or, she's going to be gay.
Again, it happened. It is what it is, but I do get those few people. I've seen people that were just stupid, and they get drunk and they do something, and it's like, oh, I don't know, it felt good, it's like, okay, what I mean, you're an idiot. You're just an idiot. You ruin it for the ones who are seriously, because it's a fight. I mean, it's not easy being able to say you're gay still to this day. In some places, you know what I mean. It's still a little bit weird. Although most of the word in the 21st century, it's pretty widely known and accepted. But you still, it's not as easy as it would have been if you weren't. Correct?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was easier for me than it would be for men. Right. I think as female, it's easier. It's also easier if you're more feminine female and you're not like a complete butch, So I feel like I was passing enough to be accepted by whoever. And it isn't passing by, because I really wanted to pass and not have heat on me. It was just who I am. So I feel like that I got lucky in that sense. Where socially I'm an accepted one. You know what I mean? Yeah,
you can swing. Yeah. Let me ask you, because I noticed when I was first started talking to you, and you say it in your book and things like that too, but you got a lot of tattoos.
Yeah.
When did that all start, and why?
Yeah, so I started when I was probably 17. I got my first one, and my mom had a boyfriend, which she had while she was with my dad. And he had a couple tattoos, and he was tough, and he was a biker, and he was a Vietnam vet. So I wanted to get a tattoo. So finally, she signed off on it when I was 17. She let me get my first tattoo. And so I think after that, I just loved getting them. So I got quite a few. So that would be in the early 2000s. I ended up getting probably like 9, 10. And then, later on, I think it wasn't until probably like 2015 that I started getting, like, putting them all together, because I had gotten so many random ones. I wanted it to look like more together. So that's where the sleeve came from. That's where the back piece came from. And so, now I'm like way more selective. I might get a tattoo every few years, if that, So yeah, they just kind of gathered in there in the decade of the 2000s.
What's the percentage of your body do you think you're covered? Because I can only tell, but it looks like you got a lot.
I don't know. I mean, my back is done. My left arm is done. And then the leg is done from the knee down on the right leg. And my chest, I have like a chest piece and a couple neck ones. And then I have like a few little random ones on my right arm, but that's it. So if you look at me, it's like, okay, that arm's covered, but that arm's not, that leg is not at all. And then the bottom of this leg is. So it doesn't seem like a lot, but it was many, many sessions.
If your whole back is covered, I mean, that's a lot. I mean, but you're saving a few limbs for later, just.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't have a single tattoo, and only because I could never make up my mind of something that I thought I'd want to live with. And then I go, it's not a big deal. I was in music again. I didn't get a pierced ear until I was 32 years old. And now I don't even, again, it was like, it didn't matter to me because I did what I did and I was still doing music. And, I just didn't follow everybody so much. But a lot of people tell me when you're getting these tattoos, they like the feeling of the needle doing what it does. Was that you?
No.
No?
No. I did not like that so much. I mean, it actually really sucks. So I don't know. Maybe people like, are getting the pain, because it's a cover up for some, emotional stuff, which I think I did a lot of. Like I got a lot of tattoos right after a breakup, and I was just like enjoying that pain as opposed to emotional pain. It was a slight distraction, but it was never like an endorphin rush or some kind of like, thrill.
Okay, but what? Okay, and again, I don't want to deviate because we're going to get into the other stuff. But since I got you here, I just all things are coming up into my head. I mean, a neck tattoo. What makes you say like I think we should do it right here? I mean, you know what I mean? And that doesn't that hurt?
Yeah, no, that actually didn't. My worst one was my leg, like my calf. I'd never do that again. Ever.
Really?
No, you couldn't pay me to do my leg again, the bottom. Just me. I mean, other people I've heard that that's not the case, but my neck, I didn't hardly feel that at all. For me, it's like where the skin is closer to some kind of bone or something. It doesn't hurt as much, but that like meaty parts of me, I did not like that. And the bottom of my leg, because it swelled really bad. And I couldn't even really walk right for a while. So I was just like, no, I'm not doing that.
All right. I just wanted a little tattoo info. Okay, we'll move along. But the thing was, okay, so you get out of school, you decide to get a degree, right? You were going to be a normal girl, right?
Right. I was just following along, went to high school, went to college, I got my bachelor's in mental health. I got a job as a case manager, and that's what I was doing. Yeah.
And then
I was just like, okay, I got my first apartment. I was making, and this is the year 2000, like 2 and 3. I got my first apartment and I paid like $315 a month for a 1-bedroom back then. And I only made $9.60 an hour with a bachelor's degree. Now I know that sounds like really bad now, but back then that was probably like making 15 or 16 now. So it's still shitty with a bachelor's. But so I was just doing that, surviving day to day. But I had a girlfriend, the girl that I was involved with, who I wanted to be my girlfriend, but she also had like a side girlfriend that she was with. And so I was kind of the side piece, and then she'd make that other girlfriend. She's kind of be back and forth. So she had an addiction. She was into anything that she could find to make herself feel high in one way or another. And I did not partake in any drugs like that. And I didn't drink. So I would be like, all right, fine. Like I can get you something, try to make her happy, to be like, here's this drug so you can like hang out. So she did like a pain pill or something. And so my effort to chasing around these random drugs to get her ended up getting me fired from my job because I was late all the time or had to leave early to go help her out. So she had been a stripper and she was like, well, I need to go back dancing. She was like, that's what we got to do. You don't have a job. Like, let's just go dance. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't think I can. I had done some side stage dancing at gay bars, but that was like either in bare feet or boots. And in the early 2000s, girls wore the stilettos or they wore big chunky platforms, boots. And so I was like, I don't know if I could walk in those. Like I'm this kind of tomboy. I don't know if I can do it. She's like, well, we got to try. So, we went to the store, which, they were stripper stores, had stripper attire. And so we got them and I went and tried, and I did okay. But yeah, I was nervous to do that for sure.
But you started your career. That was the beginning of the beginning, starting to be a stripper. And then the money starts coming into your life and starts feeling good, right?
Yeah. I mean, the first night I was there, I made like $400 and some. And, I think my paycheck for 2 weeks of work was something, maybe 600. It was like, holy shit, like what the hell am I doing? What have I been doing? I'm like, forget trying to find another job in case management. I'm just going to do this for a while. And I just said, okay, I'm just going to do this for a while until I find something else. Well, a while turned into 7 years. Yeah.
Of stripping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, because to me, being with strippers or hanging out with strippers, because I used to play when I was really young, it was called a bottle club. And I never knew what bottle clubs were. And I used to think, as a musician, I was younger, I didn't really drink when I played and all that. I wanted to play music, and that's all I cared about, wasn't the partying. And I ended up getting in with some people that ended up getting a gig at a bottle club. A bottle club is an after hours. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, I didn't know the name of it though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the term. It's a bottle club. You go in after the bars close at 2 a.m. or like the bottle club opens up at like 1 a.m. and you bring your own booze, and they charge you like per, like, you know, they like, if you bring a 6-pack of beer, they put it in a cooler, they put your name on it, and you pay like $1 for each beer you get of your own that you just bought. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because legally they're not selling it. That's your own alcohol.
Right.
But so I ended up working for a guy who owned a bottle club that also owned 2 strip bars. So once the strip bars closed, guess where the strippers were coming to hang out to wind down?
Right.
It was nuts. I mean, I've had some of the greatest times, but I mean, it could be some of the funnest times, or it could be some of the craziest get me the fuck out of here times. You know what I mean? And you lived all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So you, on top of that, you're in the scene, and what do you think the percentage of lesbian strippers are in dancing?
I think it's pretty low. Maybe more now, but in that period of time, we're talking 2003 to 2010. It was low. I mean, everybody was bi. I mean, there were a few hetero strippers, like, you know, they weren't even venturing into the bi land at all, but most of them were bisexual. So lesbian, here and there. I think that I knew 2 other ones in the 7 years, maybe 3 that were, you know, more lesbian. Yeah.
Because I'm thinking to myself, it's got to be, how the hell do you entertain men? Men are not easy, you know, and when you don't like men, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know, because my feelings towards men were never, I don't like them. I just didn't like have any feelings for them. So I've had, you know, sexual relationships with men, and I'm like, okay, that's fine, you know, but it wasn't like some great thing that I wanted to keep doing, nor was it a relationship where I felt any type of emotional connection. So most of my emotional connections and passion, and, you know, I would get all honeymoon phase with women. So, but I did not like men. And I actually enjoyed talking to them a little bit more than women, because women could be a real pain in the ass and high maintenance. So, you know, I enjoyed conversations with men. So it's not that I did not like them, but so I don't know. I mean, maybe other girls, that's why there's not a lot of lesbian strippers, I think, because maybe they couldn't stomach it or handle it. I don't know, but I didn't, but also like there's a psychology behind it where people just become people and they're customers. So if it's a woman, if it's a man, if it's a large man, if it's an unattractive man, I mean, it doesn't matter, you know, because we're there to provide a service and get, you know, behind the psychology of it as well, to be able to give the person what they're looking for. So.
All right. Talking about psychology of it. I also, again, I was always the guy who used to sit in the back, like at the bar or something like that. I was never the guy. I couldn't just sit at the stage, because as much as I can say, you know, I love women, but if I wasn't my woman and I couldn't have her, I couldn't go. It just didn't equate for me. Like, you know, the guys that their tongues are hanging out and they're right there you know, and, you know, that's the ones you know, really, that, you know, support your job. But I was never that guy. I'm always the guy watching those guys, you know, throw themselves towards you. I mean, and I've also seen a lot of the lonely guys, the guys that go there, and you got some of these strippers that, yeah, they're really nice to them, but they're just milking the shit out of them because they just looking for somebody to hang on to. And you become a therapist, just like a hairdresser, or some of these people are just looking for somebody to talk to. Is that weird?
Right. No, it was quite common. Yeah.
You had to do, I mean, you know, how many times did you sometimes sit with somebody and just be nice than doing the things that, you know, they're wanting to pay you to do?
Yeah. I mean, there were times when I feel like guys would come because they were lonely and wanted connection. However, I can't say all of them understood the game, I think that some of them understood the game, then they understood the job and what we were doing. But I actually got proposed to by someone so that did not understand the game. And I was like, oh, what?
There's a lot. There's a lot of people like that, I think.
Yeah. And I was
knew
like,
many of them.
Yeah, you didn't understand this game. And it's a service I'm providing for you. Now there were ones that came in with their fantasies. They would come in and be like, okay, we're on a date. Okay, great, we're on a date. Or I'm going to bring you jewelry. Okay, great, we're bringing me jewelry. So I feel like there were different needs. Yes, there were kinks, and I talk about a lot of the kinks in the book. But there were different needs. I never really saw too many of them that were just fucking lonely and really just wanted to talk. It's rare,
really,
that they just wanted to talk. Yeah,
I say I could think in my head just people that I've known. I mean, and they were just good. I mean, they were nice guys, but they would go there thinking that like the same thing. Like the girl started paying a whole lot of attention, and he'd be giving his money. He'd go there several times a week for the attention. And then it kind of like grew. He's thinking he's going to get some, and
right.
It's that kind of stuff never happened. And they would just sit and talk and this and that. And I don't know. I've seen a lot of that. I mean,
yeah. I mean, there were guys who got hung up in the fact that something could be, and then the stripper would give out her phone number, or they would meet for coffee once in a while. So then, I mean, there's some kind of hope. And the key to keeping a customer that was going to pay you repeatedly for champagne rooms and, somebody that you guaranteed had money once a week, we always had this line, which was always be available, but never really be available. So, we're always available. We're always, single. Everything's always cool. Or we have some kind of drama going on at home. And we're available to answer you, but we're never really available when it comes down to it. You know what I mean?
I do. I mean,
that was the line.
Again, I've met the craziest of crazy, which you talk a lot about that in your book, and you tell a lot of crazy stories, which totally, on key, which I'll let people to buy the book to read some of those stories because they're pretty deep, the fetishes and some of the things that people, come to you for. But I don't know. To me, it was always like, I can't see. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't ever go out with a stripper or anything like that, but if we did, it was because of more. It wasn't because of the bar. It wasn't because of the club, right. But I've also met a handful of women that were stripping, and they were more logical. Like they weren't the party out of control. Like I've known women that they had to be buzzed to get through their night, and you talk about that too. They couldn't do it without being buzzed, and it gets worse and worse and worse. Somehow or another to drag themselves through the mud to get to doing what they're doing. That's stuff that's, I'm sure, way in the background of their heads. But I've also met women that like were putting themselves through college. Like they were trying to get themselves out of there through the money. And they maintained a pretty decent level of what to do and what not to do. And so I've seen both sides. But when it gets crazy, as you've experienced.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what ruined it, and again, this is that decade of time between 2003, 10, 11, where there was not OnlyFans. There wasn't readily available at your fingertips a lot of the pornography online and a lot of the online entertainment that it's just right there now. It's instant fix. You're on OnlyFans, somebody's performing for you right there on camera. So you had to go into these places, and it was a thrill to go into the strip club. And, it was back then, it was, the job was a little bit more, I would say, lack of a better term, a little more elegant, because there were clubs that had pasties and thongs. You weren't allowed to touch the stripper. And, it was in front of you. It was a visual thing, as you could see. And it was just like more classy. And then there were those after hour strip clubs where it was, basically BYOB, or it was, we'll give away alcohol. And that's how it was in the state that I danced in, mostly the two of them, where it was, we're going to give away alcohol. We're not charging you. We just charge you a large cover. And then you're in there and you're paying for the champagne room. So, and that was an all nude club. That was when there was more one-on-one contact, but there was still not a lot of like whoring going on in the clubs. Except then, as the crash of 2009 happened in the stock market and like life started to change, then I would see a lot more drug addicts. There were tons of girls on drugs that they had to get their fix every night. So the bar went from this lower to where now you're sucking dick for $50 or less. And I'm like, I can't compete with that, nor do I want to be a part of this. So that's where I kind of started getting really put off by the clubs. And now, from what I hear, there's a lot of raunchy clubs that are just like, if they are still up and running, they're not as great. I mean, but don't get me wrong. There still are successful dancers in big cities right now and plenty of reality shows that show that they're making thousands of dollars. Great. But in most towns, it's a shithole at this point.
Well, what was the normal fee then? If it was $50 or less?
I mean, I'm just saying it wasn't even legal. Like, it's like, what are you doing? It's like, that's what you're going to do? Come on, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm sure that, I don't know, as far as I remember from back in the 80s and the 90s, never mind the 2000s. I don't know. I think that it varied from who the girl was. You know what I mean? And it's catty. Working with a bunch of women, it's worse than working in a hairdresser shop. I mean, because you got drugs involved and who's stealing from who and who's, starting a bunch of shit. I know. I mean, it's not easy. You got to be tough.
True. Yeah, there were definitely rivals and things, but I found that I never had too much of an issue because I was a little bit tougher, and nobody really screwed around with me too much. And I was never got drunk. So I was always in my right mind. I remembered everything everybody did. And I was in there to make money. And, I had a strategy and I would work my strategy and nightly. And I had my friends and the women that I chose to work with that I worked well with, and we made money together. But anybody else, they didn't piss around too much,
It's easy to get sucked in, though, no pun intended, with the business. How did you keep yourself from drinking when that shit's right in front of you every day? And he's selling drinks and commissions. I saw you talk about it in your book, but I never get to ask you how the hell you kept from drinking when you're there every friggin' night surrounded by that, drink, drugs. Yeah.
No, I had emetophobia at the time. Which is a fear of throwing up. So I never got drunk because I was petrified to throw up since a young age. So that was something that happened to me at a young age. Had like an anxiety disorder, and it formulated right around like the fear of vomiting. So I just never got drunk. I was too worried that I would throw up. So I didn't, and I would not consume alcohol. I might like put a couple sips in my mouth at those times, but I would mostly just throw it behind me. Everybody's doing a shot. There was this one fake plant that I used to throw all the alcohol in. So, I mean, it was full of shots by the time I was done working. But yeah, I just never got into it. And I'm kind of blessed that I had that phobia because I never got into drinking.
Yeah, because I mean, again, all the choices you make start getting more and more questionable as you get buzzed. And again, you've talked about all these fights, knockdown, dragouts, and issues, and being different places and shit going awry, and probably wouldn't happen had not these other women been out of their minds. I mean, look at your eyes are own. Yeah, you went through it, lived it, and jail, the whole thing. It's kind of typical.
My ex, she would get really drunk, and alcohol in general, I think, is just so toxic because you can lose inhibitions, you can black out, you can become somebody different. I think they call it a spirit for a reason. And I don't feel like it's very good to do, but yet it's at the gas station. You could walk out the door right now and have some kind of alcohol. So I just saw so many people have repercussions from that. But most women, most human beings doing that job, showing their body on stage or grinding on somebody's lap for hours and hours per night, multiple people, making out with other girls, having sex with other girls in front of people for money, have to be fucked up in some way. And I just didn't, which is scary, I think, partially.
Do you now how many years when did you stop doing this?
2010, about 2010.
Okay, so we're 15 years on. I mean, you ever revisit or anything like that? You still, I mean, how I guess the thing I'm trying to say is, all the things you went through, I mean, were you able, after you put it behind you, does it still live in your mind, or have you learned to like live with it, or you've managed to just completely alleviate it out of your head and like that was the past? It's like no big deal. That, some people just can never get over things, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I think there's an age limit for stripping. Nobody wants to pay to see a 46-year-old woman take her clothes off. So at this point, I'm not taking my clothes off for money, right? I'm too old. But I feel like that was a factor. Also, I think for so long, I just was so burnt out on the atmosphere of the job. So when that was finished, I finished my master's degree. And then I started putting all my effort towards, becoming a therapist. And then so many like massive crises happened in my life repeatedly that I didn't even think about it. But there was a time where, so two things. One, after I became a dancer and I quit that other job, I never had another boss again, even to this day. So I work for myself and I cannot have a boss. So that was one thing that like spoiled me for life. Number two would be like fast money. So I make money by the day. My clients pay me by the day, by the session. I do get like a biweekly paycheck from an independent contracting company for counseling. But again, I'm independent. And so, I'm really in control of everything about my schedule, my life, my money, everything. And that probably will never change. So I think it spoiled me in that realm. That would be the biggest takeaway thing that I couldn't like let go of, I guess, if you would say. Also too, I will walk outside and to my pool naked. I don't really care. I don't have like any of the qualms where I'm like, oh my God, I can't be seen naked to cover up. So if I want to go outside naked and I want to get no tan lines, I'm going. And if you're looking, I don't really give a shit, like you can look or not. So, I feel like those are the things that I carried with me.
But your pool's not like in the middle of Walmart parking lot or nothing like that, right?
No, just it's a neighborhood though. I mean, I have neighbors and they're whatever. Like some are off in the distance, some are like on top, and there's one over there. But it's not, they know me. So like maybe they pull out the binoculars. I don't know. I had a guy who I ran into last year and he had lived above me. And it was just like at the time he was a bachelor and he goes, hey, and he saw me in public and he goes, I know you. And I'm like, oh yeah. He goes, yeah, you're the stripper wrangler. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, you ran a bachelor party company and you sent girls to my house for my buddy's bachelor party. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And he was like, yeah. And you also used to go out on your back deck and all these girls would be out there topless laying out. I'm like, yeah. He was like, so I lived above you and it was great. And I was like, good. I'm glad that you were entertained. I could care less, So. Well,
that was a harmless plus for. I mean, no, I don't think there's any guy that's going to be complaining. But if you got Eloise next door, with Walter, and and you're just walking by and distracting Walter, Eloise ain't going to dig it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and she's tough shit for her. All
right. So you managed to get through all the in your book, get through the working in the clubs. What was the tipping spot that finally launched you? Said, I'm out of here.
Yeah,
can't do it no more. This is too much. Going to end up dead or killing in jail or whatever. It's just too crazy. What stopped?
Yeah. So I the club that I had worked at the very last club, there was a lot of prostitution going on in there. And it was just gross. And I was like, this is really gross. I can't really watch this anymore. And then I think one day I watched a girl kind of fade out on some kind of opiate. And she was just like, had her money in her hand. She's sitting on the floor and she's just like a sitting duck. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm not going to be in this environment anymore. And I was getting tired of it anyway. It was getting old, boring. I'd 7 years. I was like, okay, I'm just kind of over this. So that I would say the prostitution that I saw happening around me kind of just started to disgust me. Not only that, they were stepping on everybody's toes, because if you were doing this like game with a guy who, you were formulating this connection with, and he was your customer and he was a regular and he was enjoying himself, and then some girl's giving him a blowjob out for $20 or $25, so then it's like, they're just going to go there. Like, why play the game? So I feel like the game started to become null and void. So then there's pretty much, there goes my money. It's too hard for me to make money when all these girls are doing extras, is what they were called. So I was just out of there. And I had met a girl who was bartending at a strip club, and she danced a little bit, but she was like, man, she's like, this is getting run down. Like, I want to get out of here too. So we were in a relationship and we just left together. We were like we got to get out of here.
Wow. Look, I mean, from a guy's perspective, nothing beats a good extra, but no, I mean, it's the truth, but but
it isn't though, because they would do the extra, right? Let's say you got the extra blow job or whatever, the hand job, whatever it was. Yeah. They lost interest. There was no longer a chase, right? It's no longer fun. So they might not even come to that club. And then it became a little bit kind of damaging psychologically to the men, because if they're repeat coming for blowjobs, eventually it's like, they start to think, well, what am I doing? Like, this is too easy. I'm no longer thrilled by this. I'm either going to have a relationship with this or I'm not. And I keep going in to like buy a happy ending massage. It was like, well, I could just go to the Asian spot and get, it was high priced hookers, I guess you could say, because you're paying all these club fees. And I guess it was just, I mean, some came in, but I would see those guys vanish because they got what they wanted and they're no longer interested.
See, I thought they'd come back for more because it's pretty cut and dry. I mean, who was it that used to say you're not really paying them for the sex, you're paying them to leave? Was that Charlie Sheen or whoever used to say that? I mean, yeah. I mean, and I would have thought, I mean, besides the fact that they're undercutting you or other girls, so the competition on one guy, they're like stealing a client, so to speak. But and then outdoing themselves, that's what I'm saying. It gets catty and gets cutthroaty, and then the fights break out in the dressing rooms. And
I only a couple ever, not really common at all.
Really?
Like not in this area, I guess, where I was. There was maybe one or two, but not many. They just didn't. Nobody had time to get their makeup and their hair messed up and all that shit. Only like a really drunk bitch a couple times or two would do that. But, but the guys, there were guys who never went to extras because that really wasn't the goal. It depends on the goal of the guy. Now you think, okay, yeah, guy's getting worked up. He's going to want to go farther. But there were guys who did not, who were like, I don't want that. She's nasty and I'm good with what I have. So. Oh,
that I can understand too. I mean, if she's nasty, it's like, okay, I get that.
Right.
But I just thought, and being, again, I've had friends who were DJs at these clubs. So they're always, they were like the long haired dudes and they were like kind of musicians, but they were DJs in a strip club. I mean, I've known many of them. They're still my friends, in fact, but they've long since gotten out of that. And that was a good place for them to be too, because you're getting tipped by the strippers. You meet all the strippers, you start dating the strippers, and you go through strippers like, I mean, it's almost like the jobs, it's like easy come, easy go, next. And
but most of the DJs were so tired of it. Like I have a best friend who now to this day we're great friends. He DJ'd and he was so annoyed by the presence of strippers by the second year or third year in, whatever it was. And he had a girlfriend and he was just like, he would turn down sex left and right because he was desensitized watching it on stage every night and putting up with their pain in the ass attitudes. So he was just like, yeah, no, I'm good.
No, I get that. But I mean, for the first year or two, he wasn't complaining, everything was good,
Right.
Life was good. Yeah. All right. So you finally had enough. And then from there, you finally put your foot down, you drew your line in the sand, so to speak, and went from there you went back to school?
I was in school. Like I was just finishing it. I was continuing it.
While you were stripping?
Yeah, I was starting my master's program while I was stripping, but I finished it after I was done. Yeah.
Okay, so then let's get into all of a sudden. I mean, you finally say enough. I can't do anymore. What really made you go? I mean, full on enlightenment. Counselor, healing, exercise, because you work out a lot and stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Am I correct? And
Yep.
you're all about eating well and things like that. What made you? I mean, because that's a hell of a damn turnaround. That's not like I just quit stripping and I figured out how to do normal life. You went extreme. I'm out and not going to look back really, and we're going this way big time.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a transition phase. So when I left the club, I opened a business, and that business was a bachelor party company, because I was like, well, I know how to run this, because I had done extra work outside of the club for bachelor party company services, and you would just go do parties, birthday parties, work events, bachelor parties, things like that. So I opened my own company, and I had my own dancers working for me. So that's what I did in the transition phase. So for about like a year and a half or two to get out of dancing, I had to do something. I said I never went back to work for anybody. So I just worked for myself. So that was pretty good. And I continued to do that while I got the master's, because I had a lot more time. I didn't have to go out in the clubs myself. I would go do a couple parties that were high paying, because I'm like, I'm not going to pass that up and send somebody else. So one or two I would do high paying, and then that would be it. So we did that for a while, but then there came a time where I was doing the internship for the master's program, and I started to get sick. So I had been on an antidepressant called Effexor. It's an SNRI, and I had been on it forever, since I've been 17. So now I'm like 32, and all of a sudden it just stops working for my body. Because if you didn't take Effexor at the same time every day, you would start to get withdrawal, like really sick. So all of a sudden I'm sick, and I'm like, oh my gosh, why am I feeling so bad? And I started to become non-functional. I had to quit that internship and take a pause because I was so physically sick. And so I talked to my doctors, and they're like, whoa, just taper down. I'm like, taper down? This isn't even working. So I tried to taper down, didn't work. I had to quit cold turkey, and I was very sick, to the point where I didn't know if I was even going to make it. So a friend of mine said, hey, I know this energy technique. This is going to sound really crazy. She's like, but try this video. So I was doing like a chakra thing. I didn't know what I was doing at the time, trying to kind of cleanse myself and like balance my body out. And then I had an emotion code practitioner who I had just met in the master's program, because I wanted to get rid of the emotophobia, the fear of throwing up. So he was working on me with that, but I called him because I didn't know what else to do. And I was like, I'm really sick and I don't know what to do. I was like, can you help me? He said, give me like 20 minutes. I hang up with him. He said he can work with me from the quantum field, which means anywhere in the world you can connect with me in the quantum, energy field, which I was like, I don't know what the fuck that is. So I just let him do whatever. So about 40 minutes later, as I'm doing this thing and waiting on him, I could get up. I was on the floor. I was so sick. And I was like, wait a minute, I feel okay. And my mom looked at me. She was like, are you okay? I'm like, I feel like I can function. I'm not good, but I can function. So I was able to get up, and then I was able to continue like detoxifying from this Effexor. So I started studying how to detoxify from antidepressant with a friend of mine who was a pharmacist, and she had, was an ex-pharmacist. So we found like N-acetylcysteine, NAC for your liver. We found fish oil, magnesium, like all these supportive supplements that could potentially help your body as it's recovering. And then 5-HTP, which is a natural antidepressant that we got as a supplement. And then I started to feel like a little bit more human and functional as I let this Effexor get out of my body.
Hang on 1 minute, because I got to go back to what do you attribute all of a sudden you felt better to? Coincidence?
No, the energy work actually worked. So, the energy work I was doing worked. What he did in the quantum field actually worked. So I was like, okay, cool. I can get up.
I mean, because look, a lot of people are going to be listening to this right now and go, oh, bullshit. Honestly, It's like, what do you mean it worked? He did a spell, I mean, because again, you don't know unless you know, and I mean, you're living proof of it. But that's why I'm asking, because I don't want people to say, oh, sure, some guy from the quantum field, the laser, all of a sudden healed you from Australia, and again, because it sounds kind of far fetched. I mean, what was that on his end, or he's like, you guys? I mean, how do all that work together to get you feeling better? What'd you do?
Yeah, so there are many different types of energy clearing techniques that you can do. This particular one is called emotion code and body code. There's a book on each one of those things. Dr. Bradley Nelson wrote them. He's a chiropractor. He has a program. He's had it for years. This was in 2012. So this was right around March in 2012. And the energy work piece is a generic term for all things that people can't see, right? In the field of energy body. But this works with particularly trapped emotions, trapped energies, and they have a certain frequency. If you study the Rife machine, or if you study things that have hertz, like, that there's a guy, an MD named David Hawkins. He wrote a few books about the frequencies of emotion, and he figured it out. He's an MD. So a lot of the science does come into this. It's just not known. It definitely wasn't known in 2012. So he was releasing from me, like trapped emotions and energies that were stuck, causing me to discomfort. That, like, maybe the root cause of why I was on Effexor. He maybe released the Effexor from my liver, and working on specific organs. But whatever he did at the time, I never really asked. I know now because I became a certified practitioner and use it every day since. But
sound waves or prayer?
No, none of that. It's just energy work. So you just release it with a magnet in the electromagnetic field. You muscle test to figure out what's going on with somebody, do some muscle testing, like, okay, yes and no answers. There's a trapped emotion surrounding this happened with a person at 17, or here's all the trapped energies that are causing a person anxiety right now, or what are the trapped energies causing a person to be sick. And you get these answers from the person's subconscious because you're connecting with them via the quantum field and muscle testing yourself. People can look it up, emotion code, body code, read the book. Or energy therapy is really popular now. So everyone has at least heard of it. Dr. Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, they've heard of these things. They have to. It's 2025, like, it's there. So this was a particular modality, and he used the two of those things to release something from me via a distance, and it worked. So as shocked as I was like, what the hell happened? And I was like, holy shit, this, whatever the fuck it was, worked. So then I really put forth all of my effort into figuring out what this is and how this worked for me. With the emotophobia had been in place in my life for 20 years. So I was like, if you can get rid of this, I consider that a miracle. And I want to know what you do, because I'm not going to go be a therapist and help people with cognitive behavioral therapy for their emotophobia when I couldn't do it for myself. So, and when it actually worked for that, that's when I was sold. And I was like, all right, show me what we're doing here, because if I'm going to be a therapist, I want to have a tool belt, and I want to offer this. So it had me convinced.
No, I believe you. I mean, again, unfortunately, Western medicine doesn't support any of these things. And, right. And I just had this conversation 2 weeks ago with a naturopath, from the northern part of the United States, and it got me banned talking about this stuff, and
oh my God.
Yeah. Oh yeah, YouTube. Thanks, YouTube. Well, not banned. They actually just took the show down immediately, and TikTok banned me permanently. Like they wiped out 4,000 videos, and that channel's gone because they just, again, censorship, medical misinformation, all this kind of stuff. It's like, it is what it is. But I do truly believe that there's a lot of things that work that are just commonly not known, because we learned to trust Western medicine. And nowadays, I just question Western medicine a lot more than it's not what it used to be. And
Yeah.
so okay, so you got onto that whole thing, and which kept you going for it. Now, how many years you're doing what you're doing?
I've been practicing emotion code with my therapy practice since 2012.
Okay, so you gave up. You were basically, when you started the strip club thing. I mean, not the strip club, the service. What'd you call it? Bachelor. When you had service.
The company. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you were like a madam. You know,
Yeah.
you were a boss. I mean, you went from being the laborer to hiring the labor and sending them out and all that. Okay.
Right.
And so, but security, was that always an issue? I mean, having,
I had them.
guys get stupid, you know?
I had bouncers. Yeah.
Oh, you had to have guys there too?
Yeah, we always sent a bouncer with 2 girls for a party. Strapped. Everybody was strapped, you know. So yeah. No drama.
I just know that stupid things happen. Law of averages, you know, something's going to go down here and there. And but okay. So then you completely stepped away from that and became, you know, and then you were into this and you got certified, and you've been a certified counselor for how many years now?
Let's see. I finished that master's in May of 2013, and I went out on my own in early fall of 2013. And while I was on my own, in my own practice, I did Reiki therapy, emotion code therapy, and counseling. I offered all those things. Most of my early career was in Reiki and in emotion code, because people were looking for these things and they would find me for those. I had to work through to get a license. So licensed professional counselor, you need 3,500 hours of direct service, and you need a supervisor but basically about 2 years after you graduate. So after I graduated, it took me about 4 years to get my license, because I was out on my own. And I still made money, so I didn't really care. Once I got licensed, then that only really enables you to be able to take insurance. So yeah, but I've been on my own for 12 years. Yeah.
The fact that, I mean, you have, you know, you're able, that you're being referred to and insurance pays and all that. Obviously, it's legit. You know, it's not just some, you know, matchbook college or something, you know, that you're doing. Reiki. A lot of people don't even know what Reiki is, and it sounds like, oh, sure, you know, what the hell is that?
Yeah. It's a kind of short-term explanation would be it's a spiritually guided life force energy healing. So basically, the biofield is what modern science calls it. It's the energy that they can't see, but they knows that keeps living beings alive. Or it's the chi, like Chinese medicine, acupuncture. Everybody knows what that is. So that an energy flow that happens in between the meridians of the body is interrupted and disrupted. And when it's disrupted, it causes illness, disease, mental issues. You know, it's interruptions in the flow of the good life force energy. So Reiki is a technique amongst a ton of others that help you to clear the chi, just like acupuncture. It's just a hands-on technique to do that.
Is that more of a class thing, or do you do that personal one-on-one?
So you can take a class to learn it, but the sessions are done usually one-on-one, but I've done group Reiki on, like, maybe, you know, groups of people that wanted to receive it. So it's common either way, but most of the time it's one-on-one.
Okay. And with all this, how did you, you know, you went and you got your education, but then still you can do that, but not really be a what you eat fanatic or into physical fitness and all that. What turned all that into? Because I think I saw a picture of your arms. I'm going, God, I think her arms are as big as mine. Yeah. I mean,
No.
Maybe I was wrong, but I'm going, does she work out?
Yeah. I've always been into fitness and sports. Obviously, if you're stripping, you have to be in shape. And I think stripping kept me in shape for a long time, because I didn't go to the gym, but maybe 2 days a week we went when we were dancing. But I got in better shape after Effexor. So as soon as that antidepressant left my body, I lost 15 pounds, like literally fell off. And then I was just go to the gym and I was started to get muscle. And I realized that the SNRI was blocking a lot of like the antioxidant to my brain and doing a lot of things physically that would prevent me from thriving as far as physical health. So that's when the physical fitness journey really kicked in. But then, that was like 2012. So, I just always enjoyed working out. So it's something I never really had to put myself into, but I didn't know anything about like the way to eat and supplementation until after the Effexor thing, after 2012. And I was like, oh my God, like, what do I do to feel better? And that's when that search kind of began. I began to learn.
Okay. Yeah. Because with me, I'm a good eater. I'm a bad eater. I mean, it fluctuates, sometimes I just lose it and I go, I want this. I'm eating this, and I'm going to eat a lot of this until I don't want to eat anymore. And then get the effects of it afterwards, unfortunately. And it's not easier as you get older. I mean, it's just hard to be that skinny, waist and all that kind of stuff. And it's difficult. Okay. So you're into this now. I mean, where you're at now today, I mean, did I pretty much get up to anything, or am I missing something that you think you need to mention?
Well, I don't think that much happened between the time I got off the Effexor. I mean, the big event of my of 2012 was getting off the Effexor, but shortly after that, my mom got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and was gone in 5 months. That was huge because it forced me to look even further into natural healing methods for that C word we don't mention, and how that, could be helpful. So I did a lot of research for her. And that's when I started to find more and more and more about this natural health world and energy medicine and things like that. So I was in that already, but, and I was doing well. And then I got to about 2019, right before COVID hit. I was actually teaching physical fitness, kickboxing classes. And I was also, seeing my clients for therapy. It was very busy. And then we got mold poisoning from a building, and it was me and like 2 other people. So it was a huge shift for me for a while there. I was like really sick. Again, I'm like, oh my gosh, I went through this Effexor thing, and then now it's 2019 and I was super, super sick. So
how did you know
that it was mold?
Yeah.
Because all like 2 other people also got the same symptoms, and we took the baseboards off in the facility and it was there. And then the tests that we took, which are like urine tests to see what kind of mycotoxins are in your system, it all matched exactly the mold that we.
How long did that take before you got, from the time you started going there to the time you really said, hey, something's up?
Oh, there was a flood. So there was a specific period of time where there was a flood, and then it was like 8 months later.
Okay.
Yeah. So the mold to build up and to off gas continuously. But that kind of sent me into another layer of understanding the body and being in healing. And it also sent me home, which was interesting because COVID hit obviously in 2020. So I was already home. I had already given up my office that I had for since 2014. So I gave up my office and did not renew the lease because I was too sick. I didn't know what was going to happen with me. And then I went online and I started out on the phone, and then people started seeing me online. And then all of a sudden, here's COVID and everybody's online and there's online therapy. So I feel like I had like a divine protector, being like, here, this is the way you need to go. You know what I mean?
Zoom got explosively popular during COVID. I mean, Zoom the name didn't come up nearly. And then all of a sudden it was like Zoom everything. Zoom actually zoomed, for if you own part of Zoom, that was the explosion of it all. Wow. Okay. So now that's how you do your business from that day forward, right?
Yes, absolutely. And, as I healed from that mold issue, that was the worst part of that. It's the worst thing I've ever experienced in life, honestly.
What did you do to get rid of it?
What didn't I do? I spent $250,000 trying to figure out how to heal. I saw functional medicine. I saw naturopath. I saw another naturopath, another MD. I mean, until I found the right one. It took 2019. I would say I didn't start really feeling a little bit of a difference until late 22 into 23. In 23, I started feeling pretty good, but I would say from late 23 until now, I felt great. But I had to get on a medication to help me to heal. So
was it physically or mentally or both?
physically, I was miserable. I thought I would die. Yeah, it was terrible.
Okay. But you managed it. But I mean, you were able to eradicate that out or clean it out of your body and survive without damage.
I was. Yes and no. For a while there, my feet would turn red and hot. I had like a injury from chemical exposure and neuropathy in my feet, and I had that all up until like a year ago. And then finally that started to disappear. In the summertime, I couldn't even be outside because my feet would just be blood red and just burning. They're like, oh, this will never go away. But I know now what we can't even talk about, right? The natural healing stuff to get those things to heal. So it was a very long journey, but I have, I would say do I have any like long-term damage now?
That you know of?
I don't think so. I think that everything that I set out to heal, I did, but it took from 2019 to, maybe.
And how did you know to attribute your feet issue from that?
I read about it. I actually, went to a neurologist too, and they were like, oh yeah, that could be, they don't really tell you like, yeah, sure, that's that. But they're like, yeah, it can happen from autoimmune things or your body. I don't know, just their different theories. And I'm just like, got it. I know what it's from. I'll figure it out. Yeah.
So the majority of money that you spent was for trying to find out a reason. How much do you think you spent to actually, and what you were using to clean yourself out?
God. I have a tote. Those big totes for storage?
Yeah.
Big. I have that full of supplements, of trial and error supplements, ones that didn't work for my body, ones that I couldn't ingest, I would react to. I actually had what was called mast cell activation disorder for a while there. They call it MCAS for short, mast cell activation syndrome. And you can have that due to, anything like it's small intestinal bacteria, a virus, strep. There's a lot of things that could kick that off. But for me, mold was the tipping point. And so it was basically like anything you put in your body, you have almost an anaphylactic reaction to. So I couldn't eat. I was down to like 4 foods. So I had to work myself out of that hell that I was in as well. So I had supplements and then I would react to them and I'd put them in the tote. Get a supplement, react, put it in the tote. So I had to trial and error that. It wasn't until I got on low dose naltrexone that I was able to actually do the treatments to get rid of everything. So I had to get on that. That literally saved my life, that drug. And I'm still on it at a very low dose.
Everybody's different too. I mean, that like something might work for somebody and might not work for somebody else. So yeah, a lot of trial and error. Could be costly, but what's your life worth?
It was worth everything that I had. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you got through all that. Here we are now, 2025, almost over. Where are you at now? Because we're running out of time, unfortunately. Like I said, I knew it was going to go by real quick. Where are you at now? How's it going? Life is, what's life looking like? Where are you going?
It's great. I work out, I lift 3 days a week. I do jujitsu 2 days a week. I teach cardio kickboxing on every other Sunday. And then I see my clients online for therapy. I do see some people in person. So if someone wants to have an in-person Reiki session and energy work session, I will do those here and there. But a majority of the work is online. I make my own schedule. I make good money. I have great health, better health than I had in my whole life. I feel better than I did when I was like 22, So my stamina for workouts and everything is, since I know my body and I have figured out every nook and cranny and down to my genetics, I feel great. So yeah, and I have my house and my dog and, I don't know, life is pretty good at this point.
Look, you're here and I'm here and we're all talking. And so again, I'm just grateful for every day I get to wake up. Even a bad day is better than no day. But again, when I started reading this book, I'm telling you, I started going into flashbacks. Just from an observer's point of view. But I found your book interesting. I mean, it's like I said, you're right. It's not a difficult read. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to enjoy the entertainment aspect of it, and a piece of your story on how you're something. I'm telling you, I've known a lot of these girls. Like I said, they just don't come out of it well. And but but there are those that do. But you always end up hearing more of the sad stories than the good stories. And you decided to write that book and put it out, and it just came out this July. And you said that it's on Amazon, but there's several books that are called Stripped Down. I don't know what their books are about, but I know what yours is about. But so to find your book, you're telling we're going to tell everybody just Google Teresa Blackburn Stripped Down on Google, and that will send you to find the book.
Yeah, it will send you right to the Amazon link. For some reason, if you type the title of my book into Amazon itself, it doesn't come up. But if you type my name, Teresa Blackburn Stripped Down book, you'll see me pop up on a Google search, Safari or whatever is on there. Or you can go to my website. I have a page linked to, on my website to the book. So,
oh crap! I forgot you had a website. I should have put that up there. That would have been the right thing to do.
Yeah, that's okay.
What's your website?
The website is ReikiTherapyPittsburgh.com. All one word, Reiki Therapy Pittsburgh.
All right. Well, people write that down or rewind the tape after the live is over, and you can go watch again. Reiki Therapy what?
Reiki Therapy Pittsburgh, which gives away the city. Yeah.
It's a big city.
Right.
It's a big city.
Right.
You got to shovel snow there. I don't shovel snow anymore.
Right.
Yeah. That'll get your wind going too.
Yeah.
And your back. But all right, look, I again, if anybody's looking for a enjoyable, interesting, easy read, I suggest you just go pick up Teresa's book. And again, I imagine that down the line we'll somehow check in with you and see how life is going down the road, because the road is long and winding, but hopefully steady. And I'm glad to hear that it all worked out. And I'm glad, thanks to Moon Mistress on TikTok, that we happen to just by accident get referred to each other. It was total fluke, and because here you are, and I'm glad you're here. So again, I thank you for giving me the time, and to my listeners and viewers for sharing your story. And again, folks, she didn't scratch the surface on some of these stripper stories. So if you want to really get into the nitty gritty, just pick up the book, because it's if you're not familiar, but you will get familiar. And yes, this stuff does go on, and to this day. So pick up the book. But that's it. Anything on in your head that if you were to leave people with like some type of something from Teresa Blackburn, is there any kind of word of wisdom or anything like that, being that you've lived life, survived it, and are thriving now more than ever? Is there anything you leave my guys with and girls?
I would say, and I know we didn't touch on this, but I would have to say that if you're struggling with anything at all, mentally, emotionally, behaviorally, look into root cause being in your own subconscious mind. And if you look into that and you start to type in brain retraining, shadow work, subconscious mind healing work, that's where I would go. And so whether that's any practitioner or anything you can find online, any information that you find on that, that's where I would say that you could search to heal just about anything that is going on within you. That's like not cutting down the tree or trimming it and leaving a stump. That's taking the roots out. So root cause, it's like that of your shit is in your subconscious, and find a way to reprogram that and heal that. That would be my biggest piece of advice. And that's what I formulate the entire foundation of my career upon.
And you know what? And I apologize. I should have talked a little bit more about the types of, problems that you deal with. But I mean, just briefly, how do you feel your success rate? Because that's some deep, heavy, inlaid, like you said, root deep stuff that some people just can't. I mean, how do you feel that? How much help do you bring to people? Real quick.
if they find me and they're resonating with me, you will succeed. If you see me because you got hooked up with me through, like the wellness center that I contract out of, and you're not ready to do that deep kind of work, we won't even continue therapy. It'll only be working with the people that are wanting to go there. And I'd say 98% succeed because they desire to succeed and they see change. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. You can't help somebody who doesn't want to help themselves.
Not at all. And if we talk and, you just want a sounding board, that's not me. You just want to change a behavior and not really get to the root cause. It's not, I don't believe it's possible. You'll always be willpowering it away and relapsing, So, if you don't want to do that, that's cool. But my turnover rate is really high. I don't keep clients for decades, or years, because what am I doing? Just sitting by while you're telling me your problems? No, you're actually going to make a change and you won't need me. So I call myself a short-term therapist, which isn't good for retaining clients, but I shouldn't have to. I'll always get new ones to help.
See, again, catch 22. You got some of these that will keep you forever because they're making their car payments because of you. But the key is to be healed and not to be there forever. You don't want to be in therapy forever. It's great to, for maybe a refresher once in a while or something. But all right, fair enough. Tell everybody your website one more time. I am so sorry. I really wish I would have put that up. That to me should have been the main focal point.
That's okay. It is Reiki Therapy Pittsburgh. Reiki is REIKI. ReikiTherapyPittsburgh.com. And then there's a page on there for Strip Down.
Okay.
So,
and is there any way when they go to the book, is there anything there that refers back to you website wise or anything?
I think the website, well, if it's just the Amazon link, if you just Google my name in the book, there'll be an Amazon link and it takes you directly to the paperback or the Kindle. But my website can be found if you just Google my name only. I'm pretty sure I come up for.
Okay. Gotcha.
There. Yeah.
Reiki Therapy Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Fair enough. All right. Listen, I want to thank you again for giving me the time. A great conversation. And again, let's see how life goes. And I have this habit of checking in on people a few years down the road just to see, because even though we told the story, sometimes other things, there's so much more to be told. And plus the health and wellness thing. I'm sorry, I'm a big believer in that kind of stuff. I'm not a fanatic about it, but I do believe that people need to hear this and open up their insight to, there are other ways, because man, as you get older, it's getting to be a bitch, and you got guys like Bill Gates trying to give us all kinds of crap to eat and take us out. And I don't want that. So, all right. Absolutely. I love you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Wave goodbye to everybody right there, ladies and gentlemen. ReikiTherapyPittsburgh.com is her website. And you can find her there, or go Google her name, Teresa Blackburn on Google, and it will take you to her book that you can purchase. It's a good read or interesting read. So anyway, all right. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. All right.
Bye. There we go. Oops. Myself out. I just hit the wrong button. Butterfingers. Whoopsie. I told you it was going to be interesting. ReikiTherapyPittsburgh.com. Teresa Blackburn. If you want to learn more about her. All right. I want to remind everybody, next week, Wednesday, September 24th, last show of the month of September. It's going to be a recap. We're going to talk about things that we talked about. You can bring up whatever you want. Again, a lot of people missed the lives and they still want a shot at speaking their mind on the phone or through comments or whatever you want to do it. Believe me, by next week, there'll be so much more news. Who knows what else is going on? But I always have something that I'm going to bring to the table, but it's recap for the month. So join me next week, Wednesday, September 24th, right here, as we talk about anything you want to talk about. Anything goes. And even the things that we did talk about, there's plenty of people who have more to say about it. And believe me, I ruffled a lot of feathers with that whole Bill Gates thing. I mean, there's people talking what they want to do with him, but it's like, I don't want to get banned. But just we'll talk about it anyway. Either way, I want to thank everybody for watching Life with Peter G, the Peter G Show, every Wednesday, like clockwork, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. on the East Coast. Please, please, please share, subscribe, and follow. And don't forget, we have the audio version podcast as well as the visual. You can Google Peter G Show podcast. It'll take you to like 26 different audio platforms: Amazon Music, Spotify, YouTube, even on YouTube, and Apple Podcasts, amongst the many. Okay, next best thing to be in there. Put an earbud in your ear. Go jogging, walking, anything you want to do while you're driving in the car. When you're at work, put an earbud in your ear and listen to one of the over 400 shows, because work is boring. Unless you're your own boss, like Teresa. And you can do whatever the hell you want, which is good. Be your own boss. I love you guys. Thank you. And I want to remind everybody, as I always do, life is a bitch. It's really kind of weird out there. Be vigilant. Keep your ears and eyes open. Be safe. Don't be paranoid. But nowadays, it's just, there's a lot of weird shit going on. But be kind. Just try to be kind. You don't know what the person next to you is going through. But at the same time, there are a lot of people who are assholes. And you don't have to be an ass, but you don't have to take a lot of shit from anybody either. Just try to be kind. Try to be understanding. Life is short. And make the best of it. I love life. I love you for tuning in and paying attention. And again, share. And I'll take that off right there. Share. Sharing is caring. We'll see you next week. My name is Peter G. Thanks for watching. I love you guys, and peace out.
Peter G Show. Peter